In filmmaking, there are basically two approaches to shutter speed, creamy and crispy. Which one is which, and which do you use where and when and why and how and wherefore? Let's find out. I'm James Archer and I make videos about making videos. If you're the kind of weirdo who watches this stuff, you should probably subscribe so we can be weirdos together, forever. Who even cares about shutter speed? That's for photographers, right? We video people just put our camera on aperture priority mode and start shooting video and everything seems to work out fine. Until it doesn't. You swear you didn't change anything on your camera, but all of a sudden that footage you just took looks jerky and choppy. It's not smooth and buttery the way it's supposed to be. That wedding ceremony you just shot looks more like a Jason Bourne fight scene. What happened? You didn't change anything. Well, you thought aperture priority mode was fine, but you've just learned the deep, dark secret that all video creators eventually have to contend with, and that's that shutter speed matters. You have to remember that video is really just photography done really fast. Each frame of a video is basically a photograph, and all the rules of photography still apply. Now, let's say, for example, you're shooting 24 frames per second with a shutter speed of 1/500th of a second. What that basically means is that the shutter's only open for 5% of the duration of each frame. And in between, your camera is just hanging out waiting for the next frame. And that means that all of your subject's motion between those short periods when the shutter is actually open is lost. It's not recorded. And because your shutter speed was so high, you actually wind up with a very crisp image. There's no blurriness from your subject moving. And on the surface, that can sound like a good thing. But the problem is when you stack them all together, you see all the gaps in between the motion. And the footage comes out a little bit jerky. Now, there are times when this is okay, and you actually want those really crisp, kind of jerky images. Sometimes this is used for sports photography or action scenes or battle scenes. It creates kind of a sense of frenetic activity, which might be what you're looking for in the shot. Check out this scene from the movie Gladiator, for example. This was shot with a high shutter speed. It helps the scene feel frantic and chaotic. If you go frame by frame, you can actually see how fast the shutter speed is. These clearly defined particles are a dead giveaway. With typical shutter speed settings, these would be a lot blurrier because of their fast motion. Now, if you're trying to shoot anything except an action sequence, this can totally feel weird and really mess up your footage. If you're looking for footage that feels cinematic and creamy, the standard rule of thumb is that you want your shutter to be open for about half the duration of the frame. If you're shooting 24 frames a second, you probably want your shutter speed to be about 50th of a second. If you're shooting 30 FPS, you want about a 60th of a second. If you're shooting 60 FPS, you want about 120th of a second. That's going to give you the most normal, appealing, cinematic motion blur that represents what we're used to seeing and what feels right to us. It's the same standard that Hollywood has been using forever, and it's just what we consider normal. Any slower or faster, and it starts to look a little weird to us. Another option is that you can slow the shutter speed way down and get extra creamy footage. This kind of blurs everything together, and it does start to feel really weird to us, but sometimes this effect is useful if you're trying to convey a sense of an altered state or dizziness or drunkenness or something like that. Other than that, you probably want to use it pretty sparingly. It's a weird look and it's usually not what you're looking for. So enough talk, let's compare what these shutter speeds feel like so you can experience it for yourself.